Hey modelers, welcome to the channel. My name is Darren. Here on our channel you're going to find all sorts of scale modeling content like kit and product reviews, step-by-step tutorials, a lot like the one we're going to do today, live streams and AMAs, as well as other scale modeling related content. Our goal here on the channel is the same as it is over on our podcast, the Model Geeks podcast, and that is to promote the hobby of scale modeling as best we possibly can. If you're new here and scale modeling is of interest to you, then please consider subscribing and ringing that notification bell. That way you will be notified whenever we upload new content. I'd also ask that if you'd like to support the channel, we started something new, and that was the channel membership. So you can become a channel member. You'll find the join button on the home page right up next to the subscribe button and notification bell. All right, this week's video, canopies and canopy mold lines. This comes from one of our local club members, Sam, and he asked us, how do you eliminate that nasty mold line on aircraft canopies? Well, in this video, I will show you how I do it personally. This is the way I do it. I have fairly good results with it, so you can follow along if you like, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. As always, I'll place all the links to the products that I use in the video in the description below. And if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot them to me in the comments, and I'll get to them and answer them as soon as I possibly can. Again, thanks for stopping by, and let's go ahead and get on into the video. Move over to the bench and get her done. Okay, so here is the ridge that we need to get rid of. And in order to do this, we need a couple of tools. First thing we're going to need is a blade to scrape, because we're initially scrape that off. And my favorite one to use is the Stylex ceramic blade. But if you don't have one of those, a regular X-Acto blade works just as well. It's just this one's harder to dull than this one is. This one dulls easily, so I like to scrape with these instead. Personal preference. You're also going to need an abrasive of some sort. So there's a couple that I use. I usually start with something like this. Okay, it's a flexible and thinny sponge. I can just cut off little pieces. And then I follow this up with a polishing kit. Here's one's pictured on Amazon. And as you can see, it is a full pack of abrasives going from like 1,500 all the way up to 12,000 in grit. This is my color card. I would show you what the whole set looks like, but most of mine's already cut up. I got a new one on order. But this stuff works well. Now, people will debate, you don't need to go past 2,400 grit. You know, that might be true. I usually run up around 6,000 or 8,000 just because I'm an overachiever. So that's where I go. Now I'm going to tell you that these sanding sticks here, don't use these. They don't have much give to them, and as you sand, you end up flat spotting, and you don't want to flat spot the canopy at all. You know, if at all possible, you want to keep it round. So if this is all you've got, that's fine. But you can see how this contours. That works a little bit better, and will keep from flat spotting it. But that is, for that reason, is why I like to use these soft sponges. I just cut a little piece off. As you can see, here's mine now. Just cut off little pieces as needed, and it lasts a long time. We're also going to need some water. I got a little jar of it right here. The water, what that's going to do for us is we're going to wet sand this canopy. We want to keep as much debris off of the canopy as we can and keep that polishing cloth wet. So we're also going to need some polishing compounds for when we finish. I have this set from Tamiya. It goes all the way from coarse to finish. We're going to use that along with a microfiber towel. We use this to dry, and of course I finish up with a little bit of wax to polish up the canopy when I'm done. The last tool is silly putty. Now, the canopy, as you're manhandling this thing, you have a tendency to squeeze this and you can end up cracking the canopy. Ask me how I know. So what I do is I take the silly putty and I form it inside here. It just gives me something to hold on to and helps keep me from, you know, pushing this together and causing stress on this. So let me go ahead and get the silly putty put in and get everything situated, and we'll come back and we'll start removing that seam. Okay, so I've got the silly putty in place, and you can see how that helps show where your work is being done. So the first step here is to take this blade, and again, I don't want to wipe out all this detail up top here where the canopy frame is, so I want to start below that, and I'm just going to lightly start scraping that seam off. And I know, you know, this is going to seem counterintuitive at first, but it's the only way to do this. So take your time, get rid of the seam without going way down into the canopy itself. And I am going to go ahead and work this. I'll speed this process up so that we can get to the sanding. All right, there we go. You can see that I've got most of that line out of there. And yep, that pretty much looks like shit, doesn't it? I've killed it. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make it look even worse with a little bit of sandpaper. So I'm gonna start, I wouldn't go with anything lower than about an 800 if you need to start with something. I'm gonna start with 1,000 grit. I'm gonna get out my trusty handy dandy little skizzers here, cut that off. Get a little bit of water going here, and I'm just going to slowly start sanding this. The thing I want to try and do now is you're sanding is you're trying to buff those scratches out by increasing your grit with each step. I mean, let's face it, that's what polishing compounds do. It's got a grit to it, and it starts blending the scratches, and then you just increase it until you get a smooth finish, and that's what we're doing. So you can see here as I'm doing the sanding, I'm going to keep it localized as best I can, and then I'll get a little bit wider with each course that I use. So 1,000 grit, I'm just really trying to stay right in here and start to try to blend those scratches that I just created with my knife. Stop every now and again, get out your microfiber and check it. You can see it's place where the scratch or the raise was is gone, except for right here. So I'm going to come back up here. That's why I should be wearing my optivisor, because I can't see that stuff. But pardon me if I get in the way, but that needs to be pulled out of there. It is. Okay, so I went back in there off camera and I cleaned that up a little bit and got up closer to the canopy frame here and back here. So that's looking a little bit better. So that was 1,000 grit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to my colors here. I don't have any of the 1,500 brown left. So I'm moving on to my green, which is right here. Same thing. And I'm just going to start polishing, and I'm going to spread that out and start to fan it in just a little bit more. With each step, really when we get down here towards the 3200 grit, you're really going to see it start to come alive, and then we'll finish it up with a polish. Another thing to note here is I'm using light pressure and I'm keeping it wet. I'm not really trying to take away a lot of material. I'm just rubbing the surface of the canopy here and letting the sandpaper or the polishing pad kind of do its job. Let it do the work. All right, so there is after 2400 grit. And I am still seeing some scratches up here, and I can feel where I told you about flat spots. There is a distinct flat spot across here. So I'm gonna have to back up, and I'm gonna have to go to, I'm gonna go to my 800 grit, and see, this is what sucks sometimes, is you just gotta go back, you gotta adapt and overcome. Now if I start to sand this, you're going to start to see in here where that flat spot, you can start to see the ridge. And what I want to do is I'm just going to try and even this out ever so slightly. Sometimes you got to go back. So let me go ahead and fix this, and I'll get caught back up to where I was with the 2400 grit, and we'll carry on. Okay, I had to take this thing off camera because I had some pretty deep scratches up here on top. So I went ahead and pulled out 800 grit, ran back through all the way up to the 2400, which is where I noticed those deep scratches. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and follow on. I'm going to go through the 3200, and I'm going to hit the 4000, and then I'm going to come back and we will talk about compounds. Okay, here we go. So we have run through all of our sponges here, and you can see we've got a pretty good shine on there as is. But we're going to take it one step further now, and we're going to go ahead and hit it with our compounds. And I'm going to start with the coarse, and I'm going to work my way right back up through fine and then to finish. Now there's a couple of different ways to do this. I've seen people take their Dremel with some polishing claws and hit it. I'm not going to do that. I find it just as easy to take a polishing rag and my finger or a Q-tip and get in there and just do it that way. So that said, it's pretty simple. We'll go ahead and take just a little bit like so, and then we're going to get it on there and just, you know, start polishing it like you would anything else. So in there, get a good rub, and just, you know, work that those scratches out. So we'll go ahead and hit it with this first one, and I mean, this thing's already pretty shiny just from going through the sandpaper. So this might be more of a formality, but I want to show it to you anyhow. I'm a firm believer in these compounds. They work really well. All right, this is coarse I'm working with too. You can still see how shiny it is. I'll get a little bit more on here. Now eventually too, you know, I haven't even worked the inside of this, but I'll polish the inside too with just the compounds, nothing more. But it's pretty shiny just for the outside of it. So we're gonna go ahead and run through this course, and then we'll take a look at the fine. Okay, so there you go. That's the coarse run through. Let's go ahead and take some of the fine, which is the blue tip, and we will hit that one as well. Same way. Just gonna get some on our finger, And we'll get in there and just polish it, just like we did with the course. No different. Fine's done. And lastly, we have the finish. Now that's last with the compounds. There is one more step I'm going to do, and we'll cover that in just a second, but I like to wax after I get done using the compounds. So a little bit of the fine on there, and we're going to finish out this canopy polish with that. There. The finish compound's done, and the only thing left now is this. I like using this wax now on top. I think it just gives it an extra little shine. This stuff comes with this towel here, and I'm going to tell you, all these materials I used I'll have linked in the description below. So you can follow the steps, come back and visit the video again, and just follow it step by step. Should be fine. So let's see, let's go ahead. One, just put a little bit on here. And rub that in there. Like so, and come back here to a dry area and just kind of finish off with the wax. And my friends, there you go. One seam line removed and the canopy redone. So well, there you have it. Scratches, mold lines. Really, they're not that difficult to deal with. And with some practice and a little bit of patience, you'll be producing crystal clear canopies in no time. I mean, come on. If I can do it, then you can certainly do it as well. Once again, if you have any questions about the video or the steps that I went through here in general, then please shoot them to me in the comments below, and I'll get to them as soon as I possibly can. I hope that this video has helped you in some way. If so, if it has, please give us a like, thumbs up. That really does help us out as well. I'll also plug again that if scale modeling is something that interests you, then please hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so that you're notified when we upload new content. Again, thanks for stopping by, and until the next video, let's all be good to each other, and by all means, get out there and build something. Peace.